What you are witnessing is real.
Running over this guy.
The participants are not actors.
I am a comedian, actor, writer, producer, poker player.
They are actual poker players with too much money and not enough sense. The hands are real. The bullshit rivers are real. Here in The People's Poker.
I hope that they don't show that hand on YouTube.
Hello and welcome to episode 4. I'm Anthony, and I'm going to jump in. Before we get into the hands, I want to bring up some comments from viewers of the vlog. Josh Neal reached out to me. He's a friend on Facebook, and he checked out the vlogs, and he asked if I could remove the black bars on the sides of the video to help make the hand histories, the hand replays a little bit more visible. I did find a zoom feature in my editing, and so I did apply that. Hopefully that has alleviated the issue somewhat, but please let me know. And then in my third vlog, the previous episode, there was a comment by a member, Answer20, and he did mention something that I think is important, and I think I should bring up. He did say, I'm a bit soft-hearted, I guess, but we want players that are ready to gamble to feel welcome, not admonished. And perhaps someday dogs on the floor, dogs on the floor, dogs on the floor. They will also be watching these vlogs. If you're that way at a live table, then you should carry it over here, since that's who you are. But negative labeling drives away the newer players and they go back to no limit. And that's a very good point. In my previous episode, near the end, there was a hand where I did refer to one of my opponents as a, quote, fucking idiot. And while I do feel that way, I did have the tables, my hand replays are anonymous. So obviously if that particular player happened to see it, they would know that it was about them. But at the same time, Answer20 does make a great point. When I'm playing live, I'm not the type of player to get up and start pointing fingers and telling someone what an idiot they are, how bad they play. I want them playing bad. I want them putting their money in bad. I don't want them getting lucky against me. But, at the same point, I do have a duty, putting out this content. You don't want to scare away people who are, new to PLO, especially coming from a Hold'em background. Those players are going to make a lot of fundamental mistakes. They're going to overvalue hands like bottom two pair, under full houses, idiot ends of the straight, because in Hold'em those hands are a lot stronger than they are in Pot Limit Omaha. So I'll try to dial back some of the harsher approaches I have in hands as far as admonishing other players. But at the same time, I can't lie. I do have some Helmuth in me, and I do feel the rage and sometimes the entitlement. So I do need to work on that as well. You feel you deserve to win, and why are these people getting lucky? You deserve to get lucky. You're playing better than they are. But at the end of the day, if they weren't getting lucky playing bad, they wouldn't keep playing bad. So you want them to get lucky, and sometimes it's going to be against you, but they're the guys or girls who are going to come back and donate to you in the long run. In the short term, they'll put the hurt on you sometimes, but you just gotta say nice hand and move on. So anyway, this episode, we've got some, the first few hands are pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy. We do have some hands later in the episode where, we play a pot over $1,000, and then there's another pot that's over $3,000, and those are some fun ones. So we'll jump right into it. We are under the gun in a 5-10 game, playing shorthanded with only 4 players on a stack of $4,200, and we look down at the Ace, Jack, 8-6 with the Ace of Hearts suited, and we're going to raise this one up to $35. The button gets out of the way. The small blind is the only caller, and the small blind has a stack of a little over $500. So he makes the call, and we're going to go 2 ways: heads up to a flop in position position. The flop comes down ace, jack, 5, rainbow. We do have a heart out there, so we do have the backdoor hearts, but we've also flopped top 2 pair. Now our opponent is going to take the initiative here, and with $80 in the pot, he's going to lead for $52. And in this spot where his stack is relatively short and we have flopped, the top 2 pair, but there's a number of turn cards that we're not going to want to see that bring out, straights and, some flush draws we don't have. We're going to take the aggressive option here. If he likes his hand, if he's flopped aces and 5s or something, we want him to get it in. So we're going to raise it up to $236. The pot, and he is going to fold. We're playing 5-handed at 5-10 PLO, and we're on the button with ace, ace, queen, 3 suited in spades to our ace on a stack of around $3,000. We have the rest of the table covered, and under the gun, a solid player with a little under $600 is going to raise it first act to $35. A bad player with around $1,200 is going to make the call, and obviously here the price of poker is going up. We're going to re-raise it to $155. Both of our opponents are going to call here. So now there's $480 in the pot. The solid player under the gun has a little bit less than pot size bet, and the second player is roughly 2 times the pot here. So the flop comes down 5 deuce deuce rainbow with one of our suit, and both of these players are going to check it over to us. And this is a pretty safe flop for our hand. It's doubtful that we're going to run into someone here playing the 2 5s or a random deuce, and considering there was a raise, a call, I re-raised and they both called. So, if they happen to have, a deuce dangler or they happen to have pocket 5s, God bless them. They're going to double up through me here. But this is a spot where I'm going to bet. I bet the full pot. We have the, wheel draw. We have aces up, and we do have backdoor spades. So I'm pretty confident our hand is best. I don't want to check here and let them, pick up a draw to a flush that we don't have, or to hit, some random card that pairs, if they have a pair in the hole, like let's say they have 8s and an 8 hits a turn, and now I've let them outdraw me for free. So based on their stack sizes and based on the pot size, I'm fine with taking the aggressive option here. You could bet, a little bit less to try and induce one of them to get a little frisky and maybe they come over the top. You could bet 120 and maybe they think they can fold you out. So that's an option as well. But I tend to, just take the aggressive option. If they want to play for stacks, let's play for stacks. And a lot of these guys will. But in this instance, they're both going to lay it down and we'll take down a nice pot. Playing 3-handed, 5-10, we are sitting on a stack of over $4,400. Our 2 opponents, one of them on the button has a little over $800, and the small blind has under $500. And we see the button is going to limp here for $10, and now the small blind is going to make it $40. We look down at the 9-8, 6-4, suited to the 9 in diamonds. Here, 3-handed, our hand has enough connectivity and, the flush draw as well, where we can make the call here. In this spot, playing 3-handed, so again, your hand selection has to widen significantly. You can't be, waiting for super premiums. And so this hand definitely has enough playability. We make the call, the button makes the call, so we are going 3 ways to a flop, which comes down Queen 10-7 with 2 hearts and 1 diamond. Now, the small blind, who was the initial raiser, is going to check this flop. And while we have flopped an open-ended straight draw, it's, it's not to the nuts. Not every card is going to make us the nut straight here. So we don't have any hearts. We don't block the heart draw. And this is semi-decent for our hand, 3-handed, but not something that we want to get too crazy with. So we're going to check it back here. The button checks it back as well. And we go to a turn which comes down the 5 of diamonds, which is just beautiful. Now, with $120 in the pot, the small blind is going to lead out for $80 here. This turn card is just huge for us. We have picked up a gut shot straight flush draw. In addition, we have a ton of cards that we can hit other flushes. We can hit straights. We can hit the 3, the 4, the 6, the 8, the 9, the jack. So there's a lot of cards that make our hand. Now, obviously, not all of these cards are going to make us the nuts, but 3-handed, you don't have to show up with the nuts like you do, at a full table. So in this spot, when our opponent bets 80 into 120 after the flop was checked through, and this card shouldn't really hit his hand all that much, considering he was a pre-flop raiser out of position, he's pretty much announcing that he has some type of high-oriented hand typically, or, a pair or something. So the 5 isn't really going to approve what his perceived range should be here. So when he bets 80, it really looks like he's just taking a stab because it doesn't look like myself or the button is capable of calling or interested in this hand. So while I could raise, I don't think there's value in it. I don't think he's going to stack off here. I think he's just taking a stab. And we have so many outs to improve our hand. I want to call, and maybe we can get the button to come along as well. So we make the call for 80, and the button comes along as well, which is great. Now, the river is even better. It's an offsuit 6, so we drill the nuts. We have the straight to the 10 here, and the small blind is going to check it over to us. There's $360 in the pot, and in this spot, we shouldn't look like we were drawing to the 8-9. We didn't bet the flop. We just called the turn, so we could have had a diamond draw or something, or two pair. So we're going to take a small stab here. I want to get some type of value, and I don't think the button's going to bet. So I bet $98. Maybe I can, squeeze something out of somebody who has, a set or two pair or something. But unfortunately, they both fold, so we do take this one down. We're playing 5-10 with the $20 straddle on, 5-handed, and our stack size is a little over $3,100. And we do have the table covered here. The under the gun player has straddled, and we are next to act with the ace, king, king 8, with the ace, king of clubs. Now, this hand, in a full ring game is not too great. You block the opponents from, making the king high flush when you make the ace high flush. And the 8 just doesn't connect with anything in this spot. So it's really a bad card. It really weakens our hand. But at the same time, we are 5-handed. So this hand is definitely playable for a raise, especially with the straddle on. We're going to make it $75. And the button, small blind, and the straddler all hate money, and they all call. Now, the flop comes down terrible. It's 7-6-3 rainbow. So they check it over to us, and in this spot, this flop completely missed us. We do have an overpair, but in PLO, that isn't worth what it is in Hold'em. So there really isn't much for us to do here but check back, and it checks through. Now, the turn comes the 7 of diamonds, so we do have a complete rainbow board. We don't have to worry about someone hitting a flush, and the 7 pairing is pretty good. No one bet the flop. And I think if someone had hit, something on the flop, we would have heard from them. So I expect our kings up here is going to be good the vast majority of the time. Now, there is $310 in the pot, and I think we can, we don't have to bet the full pot here. We're going to bet 125, and I think that should get the job done most of the time. If someone's slow playing the 4-5 here, we got to be careful. We don't want to overcommit because our hand is, not amazing. But again, I do think we should be ahead the vast majority of the time, given how the flop played out. So we bet the 125. The button is going to fold, and the other opponents fold as well. So we're going to take this one down. 8-handed in a 5-10 game, it's going to fold around to a player in middle position who's going to limp for $10. He's unknown to us, sitting on a stack of a little over 900. Solid player in the hijack with around 500-ish is going to make it $45. And the button is going to call, and we are in the small blind with a stack of $3,000. We do have the table covered, and we look down at the ace, king, jack, jack with 3 hearts to the ace. Now, in this spot, we could re-raise, and I think if I was facing a weaker opponent, I might take that line because a lot of these players raise real bad. But in this spot where it's a solid player, even though we have the ace and the king, so we do block him having ace-ace or king-king combos, I have flopped all 3 pair before and run into sets multiple times. So even though we do have blockers, it's not impossible for us to run into our opponent having aces or kings here and having us in a world of hurt. More than likely, he'd probably have, some type of a rundown, a 10-9-8-7 double suited, or he could even have a lot of the cards that we need to hit, the Broadway cards. So he could have a, ace, queen, 10-9 with suits. So in this spot, given his stack size, I'm fine if you want to re-raise here. None of the players really have stack sizes we're too concerned about. So this is a hand you could go with. The jacks aren't amazing, but we do, again, block the aces and kings somewhat. But in this spot, I'm going to call just because, this is a solid player who's making the raise. So some of our outs could be gone. So we make the call. The unknown player who limped makes the call, as well as the button comes along as well in this spot. So the flop comes down King Jack 6 Rainbow. So we have flopped middle set, and we have a blocker to the top set, and we have the ace blocker. If someone has a straight draw here with like a Queen 10, so this is a pretty safe board for us. There's $190 in the pot, but in this spot, given there's so many opponents, I'm going to check it over. I'm hoping that the solid player is going to make a bet. We're going to be going for the check raise here. So we do check it over, and it checks around to the button, who is going to be the one who takes the stab here. And he's going to bet the full pot. He's going to bet $190. And in this spot, I'm pretty confident in my hand, but he's committed a significant portion of his own stack here. So I think he's ready to go with it, and I'm ready for him to go with it as well. So I'm going to go for the check raise here, push out any equity someone else might have, picking up a backdoor draw, or if they have some type of straight draw here, I want them out. So we do raise it up, and it folds around. He gets his stack in, and we're in pretty decent shape. We're up against the Queen 10 9-5 with the Queen 10 of clubs. So he has backdoor clubs. He does have a straight draw, so he can hit, the ace, he can hit the queen, he can hit the 10, he can hit the 9. So he does have, a decent amount of equity here. He's around 43%. We're 57, roughly. And we do agree to run it twice, and the first run out comes the 5 of clubs and the 7 of clubs. So he's going to go runner to make clubs on us, and he's going to win that first board. But surely we should be fine for the second board. So the second run out comes out, and the ace of diamonds hits the turn. So now he's made the Broadway, and we need to pair the board. And we are blocking ourselves from doing that by having the king in our hand. The 3 of hearts is not going to do us any help on the river. And so he's going to win both runouts here, and he's going to double up.
Come on, get up to the bed, big bucks, no whammy, man.
It's all your money,
We're in a 3-6 game playing 5-handed, and we are in the small blind holding the ace, 9-7, suited to the ace and diamonds, but we do have 3 diamonds, so we are preventing ourselves somewhat from hitting our flush, but the solid player under the gun is going to fold. A bad player next to act is going to call. The button gets out of the way, and in this spot, the big blind has been very aggressive. He's constantly juicing pots, and so in this spot I don't want to discourage him. You might consider raising in this spot with our hand, but I'm going to go for the limp repot with our aces here. So we do limp in, and our opponent, like clockwork, can't help himself. He makes it $24. The other limper is going to call, and now we spring the trap. We raise it up to $96. These guys are not going anywhere. They love to play, so they both call. And now we are looking at a pot size of $288. We've got $381 behind, so a little bit more than 1-to-1, but it's close enough that we're ready to go with almost any flop. And we see a pretty favorable one. It's Jack 6-6 with 2 of our suits. So we've got the aces up, we've got the nut flush draw. Not too concerned here that our opponents have a 6 in their hand. It's possible. You could run into pocket jacks as well, but in this spot, given our stack sizes and our hand strength, we aren't going anywhere. So we do pot it. We bet the $288. If they've got kings or something and they want to pay us off, let's go. So we make it 288. The original raiser is going to call, and now the next player to act shoves all in for 1,200. So we are pot committed. We only have $93 left, but it's looking like we've run into a 6 here, possibly jacks full. But again, we're pot committed. We can't go anywhere. So we do make the call. We're all in, and the original raiser calls as well. So let's see what pieces of cheese these guys happen to have here. So the original raiser shows up with the Jack 10 6-3 with 1 suit in clubs to the jack. So that's a terrible hand that he chose to raise with out of position and then call my limp repot. And then the original guy who limped and then called the other raise and my limp re-raise shows up with the Queen 9 8-6 Badoogie. And for those of you who don't play the poker game Badoogie, that's a game where you're trying to make low ball hand that is all one of each suit. So generally in PLO, you want to have suits. You don't want to be unsuited like this guy is. He has a number of gaps in his hand, so his hand is complete trash. But again, that's why these games are so good. These guys just play so bad. But in this spot, unfortunately, they're going to put the hurt on me. Pre-flop, my hand had 45% equity against both of their hands, which are around 26 to 28% equity each. But on this flop, we are in trouble. The original raiser shows up with the flopped full house, and the other guy is drawing dead to a queen, or running nines or running eights. So we are really in rough shape here. We need to hit an ace. Our diamonds are no good, and so we have dropped down to a little bit under 11% equity. The guy who's flopped the full house is close to 75%. The other guy is hovering under 15%. But again, on this flop, given the texture, given our hand, given what their ranges should be, you shouldn't be running into a situation like this too often, where both of your opponents flop this big. It's pretty ridiculous. But again, that's some of the pain of PLO. So anyway, all the money goes in. The board runs out with 2 queens, and so the other guy is going to take it down, and we get stacked.
Big bucks, no whammy, stop! Somebody doesn't like me today. From the very first time I saw you play, I knew I had to come and take your money away. You're a big whammy,
Oh my goodness. You definitely need to not get another whammy because you'll be out of the game altogether. You are correct.
And as you can see by those last 2 hands, some days you have to feed the fish, and the fish were fed. That's going to do it for this episode. As always, I appreciate any comments, any questions. Please leave them down below. I'd be happy to get back to anyone, and we'll see you in the next episode.